tick tock, the clock is ticking. The exam is fast approaching. Yes, the dates of Rajasthan set are out beginning from 19th March. And don't you worry, if you are with us, we will make sure that your path towards the set exam will be easy and nice. Hello, how are you? This is Hina from Team TES, and I welcome you in another session of Rajasthan Test practice test papers based on the past year question papers. Okay, so today's 15 questions with answers and explanation enough to help you crack the exam is here. Let's begin with question number 1. Quote, a university stands for humanism, for tolerance, for reason, for progress, for the adventure of ideas, and for the search of truth. Who said these lines about universities? Your options are A. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, B. Mahatma Gandhi, C. Jawaharlal Nehru, or D. Swami Vivekanand. आप कंफ्यूज मत होइएगा because you might think that Vivekanand was more connected to education. The answer is actually option C, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first prime minister of our country. Now, Nehru further said after this, he said that these universities stand for the onward march of the human race. And if the universities discharge their duties adequately, then it is well for the nation and the people. Okay, it is well with the nation and people. Good enough? Let's move on. Question number 2. The last book written by N.C. Chaudhury at the age of 100 was, your options are A, The Continent of Circle, B, The Autobiography of an Unknown Indian, C, Three Horsemen of the New Apocalypse, or D, To Live or Not to Live. What is it? Well, the answer is option C, Three Horsemen of the New Apocalypse. This was published in the year 1997. Now, Nirad Chaudhury was born in Kishorganj, which is now a part of Bangladesh. You can look at him here on the screen. He lived from 1897 to 1999. Okay, he was a writer and a commentator on culture. If we talk about this book, Three Horsemen of the New Apocalypse, it discusses about 20th century issues in the Western world, which means the decline of the Western civilization. And also, Nirad talks about his life as a dispassionate scholar, etc., and other things. Okay, let's move on to question number 3. Who wrote The Poor House Fair? Okay, The Poor House Fair. Option A, John Updike, B, Saul Bellow, C, Edward Albee, or D, Tennessee Williams. It is by option A, John Updike. Look at him looking at us like this. Well, you can also look at the cover. It says The Poor House Fair, a novel by John Updike. He was a 20th century American novelist and a poet, and actually a lot more. And this novel was his first novel. What does it talk about? It talks about an old age home, the inhabitants of this old age home, their political and religious views. Okay? Let's move on to question number 4. Quote, to gain his freedom, the writer must give up his freedom. Who wrote this paradoxical sentence? किसने बोला कि freedom gain करने के लिए पहले freedom को lose करना पड़ेगा? Your options are A, V.S. Naipaul, B, Nadine Gordimer, C, Chinua Achebe, or D, Wole Soyinka. Kisne bola? Option B, Nadine Gordimer. Look at her here on the screen. Well, Nadine, you know, was a South African writer and a Nobel laureate. She lived from 1923 to 2014. Abhi Nadine ne ek essay likha. The name of that essay was A Writer's Freedom. Okay, easy. The name of the essay is A Writer's Freedom, in which she spoke about what is the freedom of a writer. And also another important quote she says is, all that the writer can do is to go on writing the truth as he sees it. Okay, she's actually spoken elaborately about writer in this work. Good enough? Let's move on to question number 5. Gotho is a character in Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's novel. So Gotho is a character in which novel by Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o? Your options are A, Weep Not Child, B, A Grain of Wheat, C, The River Between, or D, Petals of Blood. Gotho is the protagonist, actually, the main character, the father in option A, Weep Not Child. He's a worker, he has 2 wives and children. Okay, now Ngũgĩ, you know, born in 1938, is known as the best known author from Kenya or East Africa. Weep Not Child of 1964 talks about Mau Mau uprising. Which uprising? Mau Mau uprising, in which the tribals of Africa revolted against the white government. Okay, so a little bit about Weep Not Child for you. And look at Ngũgĩ on the screen. I like his eyes. Let's move on to question number 6. A concept propounded by Homi K. Bhabha in post-colonial theory, which is a sign of double articulation, a strategy which appropriates the other as it visualizes power, is, आपको क्वेश्चन डिफिकल्ट लग रहा होगा पर नहीं है, मैं आपको ऑप्शंस बताती हूँ. ऑप्शन ए मिमिक्री, बी लिमिनैलिटी, सी हाइब्रिडिटी और डी एम्बिवेलेंस. अभी देखो भाभा ने एक कॉन्सेप्ट दिया, वो कॉन्सेप्ट बोल रहा था it's a sign of double articulation. Double articulation मतलब mimicking. It means duality of patterning. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए मिमिक्री. अभी what does that mean? First, a little bit about Bhabha. He's an Indian British scholar and theorist, and he wrote an essay called as Mimicry of Man, the Ambivalence of Colonial Discourse. Okay, Mimicry of Man, in which he says that mimicry is a sign of double articulation, or mimicry is a strategy of the colonizer by which they regulate, reform, and discipline the colonized in such a way that the power of the colonizer seems appropriate. So abhi connect karo, a theory which is a sign of double articulation, a strategy, which appropriates the other. Matlab, वो appropriate करते हैं. For example, when Britishers came to India, they said, our culture is the best. Indians, take our culture. Our education is the best. Indians, take our education system. Our everything is the best. Our speech is best. Our language is best. Indians, take this. वो जब ये कर रहे थे, तो वो क्या कर रहे थे? They were trying that we should mimic their culture so that we can accept them as power. We can visualize them as powerful. Okay? And we will appropriate their strategy. But this strategy of theirs was actually to control us, to regulate us, and to discipline us. This is what mimicry by Homi Bhabha is. Got it? Easy. Let's move on. Question number 7. Verses to the memory of an unfortunate lady is an... क्या है verses to the memory of an unfortunate lady? क्या है ये? Option A, Elegy by Alexander Pope. Option B, Elegy by P.B. Shelley. Option C, Elegy by Thomas Gray. और ऑप्शन डी एलेजी बाय टेनिसन. किसने लिखी अनफॉर्चुनेट लेडी के बारे में? इट इज आंसर ए, एलेजी बाय अलेक्जेंडर पोप. अभी देखो, दिस पोएम हैज 82 लाइंस एंड इट इज रिटन इन हीरोइक कपलेट. Either Pope is mourning the death of a lady who was probably Elizabeth Gage, okay, who died in the year 1724. Now, few of the lines of this poem I will read to you. I love reading lines. Every weekend I do poem reading on our channel. I hope you see those videos. Come on, I'll read few lines from Verses to the Memory of an Unfortunate Lady. A heap of dust alone remains of thee. It is all thou art, and all the proud shall be. Let's move on. Question number 8. Who is the author of the world-famous Sherlock Holmes stories? क्या इसके लिए मुझे options पढ़ने चाहिए? No. Who characterized him? Who brought Sherlock Holmes to life? It is option D, Arthur Conan Doyle. Well, Arthur Conan Doyle, was a British writer and a physician. He lived from the year 1859 to 1930. And he created Sherlock Holmes as a fictional detective. In which year? In 1887. Okay. Now, fun fact. There are total 4 novels and 56 short stories about Holmes and Dr. Watson. Okay. Chale aage, 9 ki taraf. What word does Bakhtin use to describe the process through which meaning is evolved out of interactions among the author, the work, and the reader? मतलब कौन सा word है जो Bakhtin ने use किया to tell the interaction, to tell the communication, to tell the multiple voices of author, work, reader? बताइए, options देती हूँ. Option A, polyphony, B, dialogism, C, heteroglossia, और D, chronotopia. अभी मैंने आपको बताया ना, multiple voices, interactions, talking to each other. It is option B, dialogism. Well, Mikhail Bakhtin, he was a Russian philosopher and a literary critic, and he wrote extensively about dialogue. ठीक है, easy. Let's move on. Question number 10. बड़ा question है, डरना मत, आसान है. Quote: the poet's mind is in fact a receptacle for seeking and storing up numberless feelings, phrases, images, which remain there until all the particles which can unite to form a new compound are present together. These lines are from. Your options are A. Walter Pater Appreciations, B. Matthew Arnold's Study of Poetry, C. T.S. Eliot Tradition and the Individual Talent, or D. John Ruskin's Modern Painters. बेसिकली पोएट का माइंड जो है ना वो एक रिसेप्टेबल है, वो रिसीव करता है क्या, बहुत सारी फीलिंग्स, फ्रेजेस, इमेजेस को, और फिर वो उसके दिमाग में ही रहती है, ठीक है, और फिर ये सब यूनाइट हो जाती है और कुछ नया बन जाता है. ये किसने बोला? देखिए, वॉल्टर पेटर नहीं बोल सकते, बिकॉज अप्रिसिएशंस एक्चुअली इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ हिज प्रीवियसली पब्लिश्ड एसेज ऑन लिटरेचर. मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड तो नया कुछ बना ही नहीं सकते जी, बिकॉज ही वाज अ क्लासिकल पोएट, अ नियोक्लासिकल. ही in fact attacked anything which was contemporary and new. Okay, John Ruskin Modern Painters is actually a work on painters, in which he says that the new painters are more awesome, they are more intelligent than the older ones. तो अब क्या बचा? T.S. Eliot. That is the answer. Tradition and the individual talent. Now, what does T.S. Eliot say in this one, in this work? He says fusion hota hai past or present ka. Okay, and that is how the old work accommodates the new. ठीक है, because of the fusion of the past, ये जो feelings, phrases, images हैं, ये past की है, वो accumulate हो जाती है, वो fuse हो जाती है, और फिर कुछ नया compound बनता है. And ये जो old है, it accommodates, it gives space to the new. It's such a good concept even in life. You know, the old one has to give the place for the new to grow. The older generation has to give space for the new ones to bloom. We have to understand them, right? And that will lead to a beautiful life, a hustle-free life. Chale aage. Question number 7. 11. Who is referred to as Dead Shepherd in Shakespeare's As You Like It? कौन है Dead Shepherd जो कि जंगल में थे? बताइए. Option A, Christopher Marlowe, B, John Lilly, C, Edmund Spenser, or D, Clement Marot. It is option A, Christopher Marlowe. See, Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe were both born in the same year, in the year 1564. But Marlowe died early, in 1593. This was 6 to 7 years before As You Like It was written. So when Shakespeare was writing As You Like It, which is a pastoral comedy, which was published in first folio in the year 1623, he spoke of the forest of Arden, as you know, जहाँ पे Rosalind जाती है, Orlando जाते हैं. वहाँ पे Rosalind को बहुत सारे shepherds मिलते हैं, out of which the dead shepherd, he's Christopher Marlowe. Okay, easy. Let's move on. Question number 12. The neoclassical writers were mainly concerned with, what were neoclassical writers concerned with? Your options are A, love, B, human nature, C, aesthetic beauty, or D, art and culture. Of course, they were concerned with option B, human nature. Why? Because they exalted nature, which they identified as human nature, okay, which is unchanging. अभी बताओ मेरे को कुछ neoclassical poets के नाम बताओ फटाफट. Alexander Pope, John Dryden, Thomas Gray, John Gay, Samuel Butler, Milton, Swift, Daniel Defoe, etc., etc. आगे बढ़े. Question number 13. Which of the following was termed mythos by Aristotle? Okay, mythos किसको कहा गया है by Aristotle? Option A, history, B, diction of poetry, C, character, or D, plot. The answer is option D, plot. Look at Aristotle here on the screen, his bust. Now, according to Aristotle, tragedy actually can be divided into 6 parts. मैं सारे 6 के नाम बताती हूँ. It will help you. Exams do come from Aristotle. First is mythos, which means plot. That is our answer. Second is ethos, which is character. Third is dainia, which is thought. Fourth is language. Sorry, lexis, which is language. Lexis, which is language. Fifth is melo, which is melody. And sixth and last is opsis, which is spectacle. Easy, easy. Let's move on. Question number 14. Or strain her honor or her new brocade is an example of, बताइए ये क्या figure of speech हुआ? or strain her honor or her new brocade? Option A, oxymoron, B, antithesis, C, periphrasis, or D, zeugma. It is zeugma, option D. Abhi, zeugma is a Greek word, okay, which means bonding or yoking, okay, bonding or yoking. This is a figure of speech jahan pe a verb or an adjective applies to more than one noun. A verb or an adjective applies to more than one noun. Ek example deti hu. Uh, John lost his belt as well as his temper. Okay, so here lost verb applies to John's belt as well as his temper. ठीक है? अब another example जो यहाँ screen में है, or strain her honor or her new brocade. Here the verb strain applies to honor as well as brocade. Okay, so one verb or one adjective denotes more than one noun in zeugma. Easy. And this takes us to the last question of the day. The line, the moonlight steeped in silence, from the Ancient Mariner is an example of option A, metaphor, B, zeugma, C, synesthesia, or D, oxymoron. Zeugma तो होगा ही नहीं, अभी अभी समझाया था. So the moonlight steeped in silence is an example of a metaphor. अभी metaphor आप जानते हो ना क्या होता है? It is an object, it is, a figure of speech in which an object is described in an untrue manner. Abhi moonlight cannot steep into silence. Na kya moonlight silent ho jayegi? No. So this is an untrue explanation of moonlight. But why does the author or why does the poet do it? He does it to make a comparison or to explain an idea. Kuch examples dete hain. Tea is the happiness in a cup. Or the sun was a gleaming pearl, right? अभी देखो the Ancient Mariner, the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner में कभी भी figure of speech पूछी जाए तो आंख बंद करके metaphor पे टिक करना, because Coleridge has used metaphor only as a figure of speech here, okay, in all the 7 parts of this poem. And you know it, the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is the longest poem by Coleridge, which was published in the year 1798 in Lyrical Ballets. And we are done. I hope you had fun and I hope you gathered the knowledge that you wanted. Study hard, study well, study happily. That is the mantra. Do take out time for your family. Most important, right? Do not submerge in yourself. Your family is the most important. This is Hina from Team TES and bye-bye. See you all tomorrow.